What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. I'm here with Steph Sanchez, one of my favorites. Good to have you back, Steph. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to have you, man.
Yeah.
Happy to be back.
Yes. It's been a minute, but good. We got a lot to talk about. So we'll dive in here in just a second, but did hear from a source in regards to Steve Wilks. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this Bengals game, all that good stuff. Give us 25 seconds. We'll be right back.
You're dialed into the right place. And now your host, Ryan Hensley.
What's going on, everybody? Nice to see all you guys in the chat. Red Jet Shells here saying happy Friday, Niners. What's going on? Nick Nice is here. A lot of you guys, nice to see. Throwback is in the building. What's up, Throwback? It's been a minute. Nice to see you in the building. Johnny Chisari says smash the like button. Please do if you haven't yet. Hit that like button for myself and Steph. Steph Sanchez, go ahead and tell everyone the name of your channel just in case they're not familiar or not subscribed.
Yeah, my podcast is called 49 Carats Podcast. All my social medias, you can find me Steph49K. So YouTube, that's my username, Twitter as well, or X, whatever they're calling it these days. And you can also find it on all the podcasting platforms under 49 Carats.
Steph does really good work. Make sure you guys are following her. She was vital during the offseason with some of her scouting and draft work. So make sure you guys are following Steph Sanchez, not only on Twitter, but also on her channel. Do that right away. 49ers Throwback likes the intro. I like it too, man. And I like the beat. The beat gets me going, man. So
It's classic hip hop. It's got that like classic hip hop sound to it.
Yeah, the West Coast vibe to it. Yeah, so I can't change it. I don't know if it's ever going to change. It's always going to be that. GTC's here. What's up? Hey, we got a lot to talk about today. I know a lot of people are here because of the source, so we're going to dive into that in just a second. But let me pay some bills real quick because it's mandatory. Got to pay the bills real quick. Just so you guys know, the Ryan G. Hensley Show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Hensley. It says $100 here, but right now they're actually matching up to, this is crazy, $500. So if you deposit $500, they'll match $500. That's $1,000 you guys can bet with. That's insane. It's temporary. It's going on right now. You have to be a first-time user or whatever, but use promo code Hensley. They'll match up to $500. Don't spend your rent money on gambling. Make sure it's excess money that you have set aside that you can spend. Gamble responsibly, please. Also, Blue Water Credit is a sponsor of the channel. If you want to fix your credit, they are a really, really good company. Go to the details in the description, click the link, fill out the form, let them know Ryan G. Hensley sent you to give you a free evaluation, run your credit, tell you what they can do for you, how much it costs and all that, and you can make a decision at that time. I've been using them since like 2010 or something, for a long time. They're a really good company. A lot of companies out there aren't good. This is a good one. Also, Hensley Real Estate and Mortgage, that is that's what I do. If you want to buy or sell a house anywhere in the state of California, honestly, anywhere in the country, I can connect you with somebody if I can't do it myself. Hit me up, as well as Hensley Solar. I can connect solar in 31 states. So please hit me up if you need that. Also, again, like this video if you would be so kind. Subscribe to the channel. Click on notifications so you know when we go live. Do the same thing for Stephanie's channel. I would appreciate that very much. Steph, so what I've been doing, you and I used to do, I think it was every Monday for a while there.
Yep.
So it's been a minute. I don't know if you know, but I've been doing the positive vibe because people dial in. I feel like since we're early in the morning and there's a lot of negativity in the world that we start off positive every morning.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. So today's positive vibe is all about self-confidence and fearlessness. You have to have, dang, my phone is blowing up. Okay. It's Friday. All right. So self-confidence and fearlessness is key. If you don't believe in yourself, no one will. And it has to be 100% convicted confidence. No matter what people say about you, you got to believe in yourself regardless. I've done a lot of different things, unique things in my life, like launching patents, inventions, businesses, this YouTube channel. And before I did it, I would talk to different people and they would give me reasons why I'm going to fail and reasons why I couldn't do it. But I didn't listen. I just did my thing. And what you find is that people will project their own insecurities onto you. They don't think they can do it, so they try to convince you can't either. So my advice for you is to either not share your plans with anyone and they can learn about what you're doing after the fact, or if you're going to share your plans with people, regardless of what they say, do it anyways. Have confidence in yourself. Be fearless. Don't give a shit about what people say about you or your plans. It's your life. Live it how you want to live it. Steph, do you concur?
I do concur. That's a great positive message. Self-confidence is definitely key. I feel like that's something that we learn as we get older, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we start thinking less about we start caring less about what other people think about us. And so that's the great thing about getting older, getting wiser. And yeah, I definitely concur with everything you just said.
Yeah, and especially in this YouTube business, I mean, you're a very well-loved person in this whole community. I'm not loved by everybody in this community, to be real. Like, there's some people that I don't know, I rub the wrong way. Like, a lot of people like me, and I appreciate those people very much. A lot of people don't. Like, I get random DMs and phone calls and texts and emails from just the
That's
most
crazy.
hateful things you've ever read in your life. And I don't get it. I'm a pretty nice, positive guy, man. It's just all about sports. But you know what? I don't give a damn what people say. It took me a while. In the beginning, I'm like, damn, like this dude's saying this guy's saying that. But I've got to the point now where I just don't give a damn, man. Bunch of weirdos. But yes,
Tornadoes.
a
Yeah.
lot of weirdos in the world. Uh, but be positive, and believe in yourself and be fearless. Like, don't be scared of nothing. That's the positive vibe this morning. All right, Steph, let's talk a little 49ers.
Good.
I put out a few things, like probably like 4 or 5 things since I started doing this again on the 49ers over the last 16 months from a source. Usually I have to beg and plead to give me information. And this time it was volunteered to me. They reached out to me and told me that John Lynch and some of the 49ers are unhappy with Steve Wilks. According to the source, they said some 49ers players and John Lynch are unhappy with Wilks overall, and they think the defense is outplaying the calls. They're blaming Bosa's lack of sack production on play calling. And the biggest part of it says if it doesn't change soon, the 49ers could make a change as soon as the bye week. This was someone reached out to me last night to tell me this. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I'm like hearing that last part as soon as a bye week. Like, what does that mean? Like, he could possibly get fired. Like, if they lose again, and like it's enough reason to think that the defense is at fault. Mind you, like the defense has kept opponents from scoring 22, or they've had opponents scoring 22 and 19 these past 2 weeks. And before that it was even lower, right? So I mean, I do understand the people who think that the defense is underperforming. It is, especially the defensive line. You can't be happy with that performance, but
Correct.
they're still doing enough to that it should be surmountable, right? Like your offense should be able to score more than 22 points. So I feel like there is a bit of like blaming and low hanging, like Steve Wilks is a low hanging fruit, right? He's the kind of the scapegoat right now because
Mm-hmm.
he's the newest person as far as the coaching goes in the building. And I think, especially with that call before halftime, like everyone can point to that and be like, "That's your fault," kind of thing. So that's tough to hear. I mean, I'm a little surprised, honestly, to hear that they would make a change. Like, what change could they make in mid-season, right? Um, I guess it doesn't surprise me that there would be some tension or disappointment with what's going on right now because yes, this defense and in particular the defensive line is underperforming. With the guys that you have on that line, there's no reason you should not be getting the number of sacks that is top in the league or among the top in the league. And right now they're among the lowest, right, as far as like sack rate goes. So I mean that's definitely been disappointing. And I keep asking myself, what would D'Amico Ryans be doing with this exact same defense, with this exact same defensive line? Because aside from Isaiah Oliver and aside from whoever like Hargrave, who's an upgrade, but aside from that, Isaiah Oliver and who's ever rushing opposite Bosa, Farrell, Drake Jackson, Randy Gregory, those guys you can argue those are downgrades from what they had last year. But even then, like it's largely the same group of guys. So why is the defense looking this different? Why are they underperforming by this much compared to last season? I think that's the question everyone's asking. And of course, Steve Wilks is the man you're going to be looking at to get those answers from, right?
Yeah. 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 And real quick, let me answer this question. Chrissy is tapping in from your channel. So it depends on the source. Be suspect of undisclosed sources. So this is my source. I'm definitely not suspect. This person's been working for the 49ers for a long time. They've told me, I don't know, like 4 or 5 things, and they were all proven true. They're undisclosed because you have to keep sources undisclosed. Otherwise, they're no longer sources. You can't tell who's telling you things, or they'll stop telling you things. So this is a real thing that is being told by me, and I trust them 110% that what they're telling me is accurate. Now, do I agree that Steve Wilks is I don't think Steve Wilks is that bad to where he needs to be replaced. Now, that call was bad.
Right.
Obviously, one call was bad. But what they're saying is basically that his play calling is hindering Nick Bosa from getting to the quarterback. And there's some validity to that. Like, I understand what they're saying because they're bringing a lot of blitz. They're rushing more than 4. They're playing soft zone coverage. If you're going to be blitzing and playing soft coverage, then that means people are going to be able to dump the ball off quickly. And so there's part of it that makes sense. But do I think like he's the reason why we're losing these games? No, I don't. I think it's the offense is underperforming more than the defense over these last couple losses. And so it's weird to me that he's kind of being scapegoated as the problem. Obviously he can improve. Like I said, I don't think he's doing a perfect job at all. And I think he's kind of figuring things out. Before the season, Steph, I thought these growing pains were going to take place early. And now they're taking place weeks. What is it? Week 6, week 7.
Week 8 now.
We are going into week
yeah.
8. Yeah. So I kind of expected these growing pains in the beginning of the season because he's new to this system. He's also running Kyle Shanahan's defense. I know that sounds funny. Kyle Shanahan's known for his offense, but the scheme that they're running is Kyle's offense, or excuse me, his defense. He's learning the defense that Kyle runs, and he's being told that he has to run that defense. So he's learning the defense. He's learning the players. And he's adjusting. So I'm not sure, man, how I feel about this whole thing. What I don't like, Steph, here's what I really don't like about this is the way they're handling it. Why is this on Front Street? How do you feel about Kyle Shanahan at press conference? Kind of like, feel like he's throwing him under the bus a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like he was throwing him under the bus, really. I know a lot of people came away with that. To me, it just sounded like, okay, we both talked and we both agreed that, that was a bad call. I think it is as simple as that. Now, I'm sure there was more to it, right? Like there might have been some hand slapping behind closed doors that maybe we don't know about. And mind you, I don't know if you had noticed, Ryan, but I felt like Kyle Shanahan has kind of been giving these subtly passive aggressive comments in these pressers going back to the preseason. Cause I remember there was a preseason game in which the run defense didn't look great. And which is weird to even say anything about that because it's preseason and you don't game plan, right? Yeah. But I remember him being asked about that. And then he said something definitely not something we want to see when the season rolls around or something like that. So these little comments have been there from Kyle where you can tell that he's a little ticked off about it because in his mind, and I kind of have the same thought, it's everything with this defense is more or less the same. We asked you to come in and keep everything more or less the same. And it's not looking the same. So what is going on, and you're the only difference here. So that's why I think there's a little bit of, I'm sure Kyle feels what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
You had this perfect defense. Why is it not looking perfect like we expected? I thought you were a good defensive coordinator and all this stuff. So yeah, I feel like there has been kind of, I guess it doesn't surprise me that it's gotten to this point.
Yeah, I mean, and I just don't. I just don't think the defense is the main problem. They're giving up 15 on the season, 15.8 points per game, which is hella good.
Yeah.
Well, let me see. I have it somewhere right here. Yeah, the 49ers are giving up 15.6 points per game, which is third in the NFL after the Ravens and the Chiefs. That's not bad, right? And even in the games they just lost, what was it? 19 and 22 points is what they gave up.
Yeah.
That's not bad. The 49ers have scored 17 points over the last 2 games. So it's just weird that this is coming out and that they're looking at this as the major problem when I think The offense has been the problem. And really, the biggest problem for me, Steph, is the run game has just disappeared over the last 3 games. Even when they beat the Cowboys, they beat the crap out of the Cowboys. But McCaffrey over the last 3 games has averaged 3.08 yards per carry. So when the run game's not there and everything has to be put on the shoulders of Brock Purdy in the passing game, that's a different offense than what we're used to seeing from the 49ers. And I think that's been the biggest problem out of all the problems that the 49ers have had the last couple of weeks. That is it to me. It's the run game has disappeared. And now you got to rely on the passing game. I think that's the biggest problem for the 49ers over anything, even over Moody, or even over the defense. It's that.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's weird that this was volunteered to me, came out last night, and that they're kind of making this the thing right now. So I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. I feel bad for him, to be honest. I feel bad that, and I know you don't think he's throwing him on the bus, and I get it, but like there's, for whatever reason, this information was volunteered to me last night. It was brought up in the press conference. It's just like this stuff to me should be handled in-house, behind the scenes, right? Like as a coach, you want to cover for your guys. You never want to put them, like blame them publicly. You kind of want to put it all on yourself. And Kyle did come out after the fact and say, hey, I could have overruled this. I could have called timeout, overruled this, changed the call. I don't know how realistic that is, but even if it's not realistic, that's what I think you should say as the leader, and not throw your guys under the bus. So I do find it to be strange. And even Nick Bosa, we do need another Nick Bosa impression soon. Hopefully, Steph.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. But even him in the press conference, so I think the reason why I was reached out to is because I tweeted about Nick Bosa in the press conference in regards to when I watched him and what he was saying. It seemed like he was kind of not feeling Steve Wilks in that press conference. And then I was reached out to after that, just based on his answers here. He's like, we're a rush 4 team, and so, it was kind of like, it's just a weird vibe. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen if they don't perform well this coming weekend. Hopefully they do. Steve Wilks seems like a nice guy. I know like a lot of people are like, why do you feel bad for him? He's a professional and he gets paid a lot of money. I'm just not used to seeing coaches being put out there like that. Like this is stuff typically that happens behind the scenes and not in the public forum.
I think we can bet that whatever was said behind closed doors is much worse than what we heard
Yes.
in those pressers, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, Wilkes is probably, definitely feeling the heat right now. And if that means there's going to be changes, which I think there were some changes. Like if you look at towards the end of that game against the Vikings, there were some adjustments where they were holding them to field goals. They had to punt, you know what I mean? So again, holding them to 22 points, that's not terrible. So like, while I do think there are some things that need to be addressed, I'm with you that I don't think all of the blame needs to fall on Steve Wilks. But again, him being like the low-hanging fruit here, him being like pretty much the scapegoat, that's just what it is right now. But you mentioned the offense too, and how they've kind of been underperforming these last 3 games, in particular the run game, right? Because I think we're used to that being the backbone, much like the pass rushes for the 49ers defense. The run game is like the backbone of the offense,
Right.
and we haven't been seeing that as well these last few games. And I think it's because defenses are really keen in on Christian McCaffrey. But I think what I find most worrisome is that even with that, like it doesn't look like there's been a counter to it. And I think not having Debo there definitely like hurts, because the threat of him, I think, keeps defenses honest. But him not being there, I just haven't seen enough. Like, we haven't seen Jordan Mason. We haven't seen, even Ray McLeod. Like, I haven't seen a lot of end arounds, and, you could do some creative stuff. You could give him some of the Debo plays and, at least show some of that to try to keep the defenses honest. But yeah, we're not seeing that. And so I think that's kind of hurting the offense, right? So hopefully they have a better plan, because now it's been a couple weeks. You've been without Debo, but at the same time, it's on a short week. So how many adjustments could you really expect to see on a short week? You know what I mean? So I think they're going to try to run the ball a lot, against the Bengals, especially if Brock Purdy is unable to play. Like, you're really going to need your run game for that. The
Yeah.
other part of it is that, Trent Williams being out does hurt you as well because your runs to the left side aren't going to be as successful when you don't have like Trent on the side
Right.
there.
Which is
Um,
typically all they do anyways, right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
Colton McKivitz is not like the run blocker that, Mike McGlinchey was. Say what you want about Mike McGlinchey, but he was a good run blocker.
Yeah.
And so I think, going from Colton McKivitz, like even runs to the right side maybe could be a little dicey. So yeah, I think they're missing that element to it. But they're gonna need it. They need it, and they need the pass rush this weekend too if they're gonna, impact the Bengals offense at all. Or else, Joe Burrow's gonna dice them up, especially if they try to blitz, I would think.
Yes, and this comment is true. David DeFore says Steph is painfully underrated. Smart, incisive analysis.
Oh,
This is very much true. Not here with me. I've known this for a long time, and actually, Steph was one of the people that started when I started my YouTube channel. Steph was one of the first people to join me every Monday. I know
it's
this
fun.
about Steph. More people need to. Obviously, she's really really good,
Thank you,
and
David.
and has a tremendous Nick Bosa impression to top it off on top of it. Yes. How's your fantasy team doing, Steph? My team is trash. I'm just
Dude, in
curious.
your league, my team is like struggling, man. My team is really struggling. It's not the year for me.
Yeah.
But it's still early in the season, right? So
Yes.
there's a whole lot of ball game left. Hopefully better days come for my team.
I'm hoping the same thing. I'm almost at the point where I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna ignore it. I'm just gonna put this on whatever. Not.
Right.
It's getting rough. It's getting rough out here. All right. Well, I want to talk about. Let's move on. I want to talk about the injury report, just for both teams, just so we kind of have a preview of that. The game is on Sunday. It is Friday. The Bengals and the 49ers both have a lot of people injured. I think the 49ers are more banged up, but I don't know which of these guys are not playing or not. But I can tell you that the linebacker Akeem Davis Gather on the Bengals did not participate because of a knee. Orlando Brown is limited, who's a great offensive tackle. Devin Harper, another linebacker, did participate, but is nursing a hamstring, as well as Josh Tupou with his toe and Chase Brown hamstring. Now on the Niners side, Debo not going to play. He's out with his shoulder. Dre Greenlaw did participate, so it looks like he's going to be back. Trent Williams did not participate, but I believe he's going to play. I think that's what I've heard. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is participating, but is nursing his ankle, and McCaffrey that oblique, but he'll play as well. The big one, though, the big one, Brock Purdy, Steph, the concussion. Were you like blown away like everyone when you heard that he was concussed?
Yeah. I mean, when you hear about something like that late after the game, it's like, what happened? you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was a surprise and it's a huge bummer because it's like, shoot, it's a short week. You're thinking to yourself, like, he's definitely not gonna be able to go. Like this it's probably very unlikely that he's able to go, right? And you're thinking, wow, like this is a must-win game kind of for the 49ers. They just dropped these last two games. You want to have Brock Purdy out there, right? So
Mhm.
I mean, I think there was panic from all of us a bit. And I think also like Sam Darnold, we're not ready to see Sam Darnold, like
Yeah.
I don't think we want to see Sam Darnold out there. So I think that's part of the panic. But it seems like he's progressing. Like I think
Yeah.
we're all speculating here, right? Like
Mhm.
we're seeing him throw in like warm-ups and whatnot. And we're like, oh, like this is really great. Like maybe there is a chance. It's Friday, so we'll see what they do today. I believe Friday is usually like a walkthrough day, if anything. So
Mm.
I don't know if that'll really give us any answer. Uh, but we probably won't know if he'll play or not until Sunday morning, honestly. So that's just the reality of the situation. If anything, though, that does kind of give the 49ers an advantage over the Bengals because Bengals are going to have to prepare for both of these guys, both Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy. And who knows? Like, I don't know if Sam Darnold has to play. We've seen some backup quarterbacks have good games, and it's mostly because usually there isn't a lot of tape on backup quarterbacks. There's plenty of tape on Sam Darnold, though. but not any really that you can use from his time in San Francisco. So if it looks any different than it has looked in the past because he's in this like Kyle Shanahan scheme, that could be an advantage to the 49ers, but we don't know.
Yeah. If before yesterday, I would have said there's pretty much zero chance that Brock Purdy's going to play based on what's happened over the last couple of years. When a quarterback gets a concussion, typically they need that whole week. They don't play the next week. And it was a short week. He played on Monday night, and I was like, there's no way this guy's playing. But then, we've heard reports that it's still very possible that Brock Purdy plays, and then you saw him throwing passes. If I had to wager, and I'm going to ask you, I know you're not the speculation queen at all. I kind of am. So if I had to,
my lane, it's not that one.
Yeah, that's not your lane. But if I had to speculate and predict, I think actually I'm going to say Brock Purdy's playing. I kind of think that's what's going to happen on Sunday now, where yesterday I would have told you the exact opposite. Do you think he plays Sunday?
Based on what Dr. Pandya said yesterday, like he says that he's on step 4 of 5 based on what he saw from practice, right? That he's like throwing in these warm-ups and whatnot. If that is the case, like, yeah, I'd feel optimistic because if he's already at step 4, and he has a couple of days here to pass it past step 5, I guess, then I feel pretty good about that right now. But I really don't know. Like, I kind of feel like it's still like 50-50, but I'm definitely feeling optimistic now with what we saw yesterday.
I think I'm like 70-30 he's going to play right now. That's just kind of how I feel. Brock is a damn quick killer, man. that much
He is.
That much we do know for sure. But let's talk more hypotheticals, because I know that's definitely not your lane, but I'll ask you anyways.
You want to put me on the spot.
Right. If Sam Darnold does play, can he have success on Sunday against the Bengals? What's your confidence level?
I'm going to the game with no expectations, hence like me just not speculating. But I think it's just part of me not wanting to be disappointed. Like, if he does do bad, I don't want to be like too disappointed because I thought he would do well. You know what I mean? So I think anything can happen, right? We haven't really seen him. We saw him in the preseason, but of course, like, that's no game planning involved. He can make really nice throws. Like, we saw some dimes in the preseason. If he could do that and take care of the football, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, taking care of the football, not making dumb mistakes. Go where Kyle Shanahan tells you to go. Like, that's all you need to do. If he could do that and kind of have like the same elusiveness in the pocket that we see from Brock Purdy, I think that's what I'm most worried about with Sam Darnold. Is like, I don't know if he has the same like pocket presence as Brock Purdy does in the pocket, because I feel like Purdy can make your offensive line just look slightly better. And if Jalen Moore is going to be out there and he's going to be lining up against Trey Hendrickson, who leads, the Bengals in sacks, that it might not be as good of a day that he had last week, right? For Jalen Moore.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about that potentially with Sam Darnold, lining up at quarterback. Is like, oh, that could be bad. So yeah, I mean, I think Trent being out there would be important, would be huge for Sam Darnold as of right now. Like, I don't know how I feel about that either. Like, that kind of feels 50-50 even, especially because you have the bye week after this. It's like, hey, we want Trent for the long run. We might as well just like have him rest another week and then make sure he's 100% for the rest of the season kind of thing. So I don't know. I think certainly he could do well. I think if the offensive line has a decent game and if the run game could have a decent day as well. We've been talking about Christian McCaffrey and how he's been inefficient. If Sam Darnold has to throw a ton like Brock Purdy has had to these last few weeks, I wouldn't feel as confident, right? So they need to be balanced on offense in order for Sam Darnold to have a good day. And if that happens, then sure, like, I could see it. But I know a lot of people are like, what if Sam Darnold like balls out and are we having a quarterback controversy in the bye week? I don't see that happening. I would give that like 1% chance.
Yeah, actually, I agree. I talked about that a little yesterday. I really think Kyle's more bought in on Brock Purdy than a lot of people have been saying. That, I mean, that's my opinion. What do I know? But that's just my thoughts. I don't think one good game from Sam Darnold is going to change his opinion on Brock Purdy, or 2 bad games from Brock Purdy is going to change his opinion on Brock Purdy. I think he's bought in for Brock Purdy. It's going to take a lot for him to lose his gig. And even if he doesn't play and Sam Darnold plays pretty good, I I don't think that changes anything, but I would be surprised. Now, one thing that works in Sam Darnold's favor are two things, actually. First thing is, and this isn't a knock on Brock Purdy, it's just a reality. Kyle Shanahan is dialing up the most wide open passes in the NFL. Number one, for being wide, like he's got these guys wide open. And luckily, Brock Purdy's able to just execute, right? He's doing a great job. So you can have Kyle Shanahan dialing up wide open wide receivers and have Brock Purdy doing a great job at finding his guys. So just because they're wide open doesn't mean he's doing a bad job. That's not what I'm saying. But the reality is Kyle Shanahan is dialing up the most wide open wide receivers. And I think he can do that for Sam Darnold as well, give him those same looks. And the other thing that's really good, like what's going against these Bengals, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the Bengals are 13th against the pass, but 29th against the run. So if we're going to get back in the run game, this is the week to do it because the Bengals are not a good run defense. They are much better against the pass. So whether it's Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy, I expect the run game to get back to where they were. Now, I think the key, though, is we got to be a little Christian McCaffrey light. I feel like we're a little heavy on that CMC right now. And it's a lot easier for teams to it's very predictable, which is unusual for Kyle Shanahan to be this predictable, in my opinion. He's very dependent on CMC. We've all been screaming Jordan Mason for over a year now. We still haven't seen it. Do you think it happens this Sunday at all? Is there any possibility we see Jordan Mason?
I don't know. I really hope so. I don't think, and I'm just speculating, right? But I don't think like the reason that we haven't seen Jordan Mason is for lack of play. Like he's been awesome when he's been out there. Yeah. But like clearly there's something that Kyle doesn't trust him with. Like whether that be pass protection, whether that be, knowing all the play. Like sometimes there's miscues with him. I saw you saw Raymond McLeod when he had the miscue. We didn't see too much of Raymond McLeod the following game, right? So yeah, I think if you're not prepared and you're not on your P's and Q's, like Kyle Shanahan will hold that against you and he will limit your snaps for that reason. So I think that's the reason. I don't know how much of that he can prove or show in practice, right? To justify him going back out there. But this would be a game that I would love for Jordan Mason to be out there because you mentioned how the Bengals are, they're worse against the run than against the pass. And in particular, runs to the outside. I was looking at stats on runs to the outside. They're allowing 6 yards per carry outside the left tackle. So again, like that's important too for if Trent plays, like that would be big. So yeah, I think they could get that going. I feel like Jordan Mason on runs to the outside, even Christian McCaffrey, obviously, but also Mason, I think has some nice runs when he gets out on the outside, gets some space, makes a few guys miss. He's like a bulldozer out there. So I'd love to see him. I also dude, where's Ronnie Bell? Like I thought he did good when he was out there and like the limited opportunities that he did get. We saw him a bunch when Brandon Ayuk was out and we just haven't really seen him since. So I don't know if he's dealing with some not doghouse issues, but like trust issues with Kyle too, because we just haven't seen him. And I find that odd given that Debo's been out. Right. So Kyle seems
to have Ronnie Bell dialed in as Ayuk's replacement, and for whatever reason, he's unwilling to switch that up in his head. I think if Ayuk was down, hopefully that doesn't happen because I'm a big Ayuk guy, but I think Ayuk's backup, and for whatever reason, he doesn't think it's transferable over to being Debo's backup.
I guess not.
So I don't know the reasoning behind it, but I agree. I like Ronnie Bell when he's out there now. Just like Jordan Mason has blown a couple pass blocking assignments, Ronnie Bell in the preseason caused 2 interceptions, balls that hit him right in the hands, and he didn't catch them. Yeah, so maybe that's in the back of Kyle Shanahan's mind. But, to that same point, in that same vein, CMC has turned the ball over 3 times or fumbled 3 times, 2 right in the red zone, these last couple of weeks. The last one was crucial. A big part of the reason I think they lost. I mean, it's one of the 5-6 reasons why they lost. So man, I just feel like give Jordan Mason the rock, man. He's good. Oh yeah, Marquise says the same thing. Give Jordan Mason the rock. We agree.
Same thing.
Yeah, we agree.
But I also wonder if maybe like they like Jordan Mason in certain spots. Like maybe they feel like Jordan Mason's the kind of guy you put in there when you're up and like you're in a certain like game script, and that means like okay, like this is perfect for Jordan Mason because like in the times that he has come in, it's been mostly as a closer, right? Like
Right.
they're up, okay, like we don't need Christian McCaffrey out there as much. Like let's have him take a few runs, like that's kind of when they put Mason out there. So I don't know if maybe they just haven't been in that favorable game script to want Mason out there because he also has dealt with fumbles, right? Like in the preseason too. I
Hmm.
think like we hadn't seen it really in the regular season. So yeah, I still kind of wonder about that. But
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see more of him because I know Elijah Mitchell's not it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Elijah Mitchell. Sad, man.
Eh,
Sad to see
yeah.
him get go. You know what? I think the last like he had a really good game against the Bengals. I'm trying to think of when it was, but I believe that was. I'll have to check my stats. Uncle Salty
Yeah,
brings up a
probably
good.
like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a minute ago.
Like
Uncle Salty brings up a question. So let me add this one in to the mix before we finish with the Bengals stuff. But
yeah.
what's your take on the trade deadline? What do you see the 49ers doing?
Yeah, we're a few days out from the deadline, right? So if
Mhm.
49ers are going to make a move, like we'll hear about it in these next few days. I have to imagine they are like working the phone, seeing who's available. I really thought that like if the Vikings lost and like the 49ers beat them, it'd be possible they'd be talking about a couple players, maybe Danielle Hunter would be a possibility. That door is closed because they won. They're feeling good about their chances this season suddenly again. So yeah, I think it's kind of limited. Like I think the Commanders would be someone willing to sell, the Panthers. And so I know a lot of people have mentioned like Montez Sweat if you're feeling like you need another defensive lineman. At the same time though, you have to wonder if there's a little hesitation to like maybe get another pass rusher because Steve Wilks is underperforming with the group of guys that he currently has, and those are all like
Yeah,
all stars, man. Like you,
yeah,
there's no reason they should be underperforming with that group of guys. You add someone else in who you give up draft capital for, and if they're still struggling, yeah, I don't know. Like I just have to wonder if there would be some hesitation there for that reason
yeah.
because you have to make sure that if you bring someone and you're going to give up draft capital, they're going to actually make an impact, right? And we saw Randy Gregory, like his snaps actually went down like the second week that he was in, right? So not ideal. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely still look into like getting a speed rusher, another pass rusher. And then also I've seen people bring up like Cordell Patterson. I like that one because he's a cheaper option that I think would be able to make an impact for the offense, especially if any of like Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel would be out because he is kind of like that hybrid type of player who can fill in, I think, for either of those guys. You saw last year how important he was to the Falcons, and they're not really using him now because like they have Bijan and they have Algier. So yeah, I think he could be someone that could be had like pretty cheap actually. So they could use someone who has that Debo esque threat, right now, for
Hmm.
example.
Yeah, I don't know what I think about what we're gonna do. I mean, I could see them adding a DB. I think it'll be like a mid-level DB. I think a lot of people want like
I can
Patrick,
see that
like
too.
like Nick Nice says right here. We got 3 firsts in Dallas. Give up one for PS2. I mean, the problem with that, Nick, is that the 49ers need some offensive linemen, and they don't give up that first. Where are you going to get that from? They really need to draft a tackle to me next year, and I don't think they need to be giving up any firsts for trades. I think that what they're going to do is get a mid-level DB. That's what I think they're going to do. I'd be surprised if it's more than that. Maybe it is. That'd be great. I mean, none of us saw the CMC thing coming, so maybe they go all in and go crazy on somebody, and we get a little excitement. But I do think they're so heavy in the cap right now. They kind of need to think ahead a little bit. And I know it like 49er fans and myself included, we want them to go all in because we feel like we're close to winning a Lombardi. But also you gotta like they could be really bad in a couple years if they don't start getting this cap stuff under control. And they got to draft the tackle. I mean, they had to draft the tackle last year and they didn't. So they got to keep that first round draft pick. To me, I don't think you want to be trading around first round draft picks. We haven't had a first round draft pick in what, 4 years now. Yeah, I think it's 4 years now, right? Yeah, so it's
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people want Surtain, but that's going to be a first rounder, I think, and pretty expensive to get him. Maybe it won't. Maybe they can pull it off for something else. I just don't think it's realistic.
Yeah, I don't think the Broncos are even trying to trade Surtain, honestly. I think we've heard that they're willing to, but I don't think that's the case. I think even Ben Albright, who's literally like the Broncos insider, right? Like he said they're not looking to trade him under any circumstance. Really, they're just using him to get the phone's ringing and ask, hey, what he's not available. Maybe Jerry Judy, are you interested in
Yeah,
him
right.
kind of thing? Like
Right.
so
Yeah.
that way they just get phone calls. But yeah, no, I don't think Surtain's an option. I think I could see a corner though, because like your corner depth is not great. Like they
Yeah.
need to shore that up. If they could get someone who they can start on the outside and then maybe you move Lenore in, like that'd be cool. But I don't think there's anyone that any team is going to be willing to trade who can fit that, right? So I think it's most likely that if they do get a corner, it's going to be like for depth.
Yeah, I think it was a mid type corner. It is. I think that's realistic. Again, maybe we'll be surprised. One thing I've been saying for a few weeks, and obviously the 49ers see a need because they drafted two, but a tight end too. I don't know how confident they are. I mean, they drafted Braden Willis, they drafted Cam Latu. Cam Latu's on out for the year. Braden Willis is, who knows? He's on the team. I just haven't seen him on the field at all. So maybe there's some desire there to get a tight end too. Offensively, I think it's the best. The thing the 49ers need the most is a right tackle, but it's not realistic to me at all that they're going to get a right tackle. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do in this deadline. I think it's just like a mid-level DB is probably what we can expect. Pass rusher, to me, I don't, especially with the news that I just reported this morning. It seems like to me, John Lynch and the 49ers defense, they feel that the problem is not their pass rushers. It's the play
Right.
calling.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Right. So maybe they trade for a defensive coordinator. I don't know. But it's not going to be a pass rusher. I would be surprised if they grab another pass rusher, honestly. So yeah, that's kind of my summary. Any other thoughts on the trade deadline?
No, I mean, I'm excited for it. I do think they get someone, especially seeing how the Eagles look. They traded for safety. They look good right now. So you gotta match that energy, and you gotta improve too. So we'll see how they do it.
Yeah, and then the 49ers throwback says, I'm sorry, I don't see the 49ers beating the Eagles. Yeah, that's my concern. Honestly, what kills me, Steph, and we'll move on to the Bengals here in a second, but what kills me is, and I know I'm probably being a broken record, but I felt like the Eagles beat the crap out of us in the trenches last year. And I don't think the 49ers, now defensively they upgraded, but offensively, I don't think we did anything to upgrade. And that's the problem. That's what I'm worried about when we face the Eagles coming up on December 3rd. But that's down the road. Let's talk about the Bengals threats and weaknesses. You want to give me your threats and weaknesses for the Bengals, or you want me to start?
Yeah, I can start on a couple of things, like
Okay.
because I'm preparing for my show later to do the preview too. So I got my notes handy. I already mentioned Trey Hendrickson, and he lines up almost exclusively versus the left tackle. So
Mm-hmm.
could be Jalen Moore, could be Trent Williams. I'd feel a lot better, obviously, if it's Trent Williams. And I'm a little worried if it's Jalen Moore, right? And what that could
Mm-hmm.
mean for the offense, who, we've kind of said they've kind of sputtered a little bit here too in these last two games, especially if Brock's out. That's going to be a huge matchup to keep an eye on. So that's another one. Sam Hubbard as well would be someone I'd be a little worried about, but I think this could be a get right game for Christian McCaffrey and this Bengals defense. Just for some of the reasons we mentioned. I don't know if the runs up the middle may be there, but like I said, runs to the outside, definitely what we want to try to get. So get them in space, get them moving, I think that's what we want to see. And they play a lot of man coverage, so I could see this being a good game for Brandon Ayuk, especially if Purdy plays. The thing with Sam Darnold that we don't know, and because like quarterbacks are always different with this, right? Like, is Sam Darnold going to have a favorite target, or is he going to, I don't know, just throw it to whoever Kyle Shanahan tells him? I don't know. Like, is he going to go past his first read and, go through his progressions and whatnot? Will he have, he has an arm to throw the Brandon Ayuk if Ayuk's down the field, right? So I think Ayuk could have a good game just because it's man coverage and his target share historically does go up against man. But yeah, I'm just a little curious about if Sam Darnold plays, will he have a favorite target? Like, is he going to be checking down kind of thing? Like, that's what I don't really know or don't know what to expect.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, if Sam Darnold plays, he actually hit a couple, I think, 9 routes, to start off the game. That he couldn't sustain the drives. So I'm just really hoping it's Brock Purdy. I do like Sam Darnold. He's, the greatest thrower of the football in 49ers history, so that's cool. But I really I prefer Brock Purdy, obviously. And I think Brock Purdy is going to absolutely play. As we brought up earlier, the threats and weaknesses for the Bengals. The weaknesses, again, like we talked about, is the run defense. Their strength is they're pretty good against the pass. So, like you said, I think this might be a CMC get-back game. Maybe Kyle Shanahan will actually give Jordan Mason or TDP some run. We'll see about that. But I think the 49ers are going to win because of the run game. I think that's what we're going to see. Also, you brought up Trey Hendrickson, who has 7 sacks, which he's tied for 4th in the NFL for sacks. He better than the Niners player right now as far as sacks are concerned. So that is something to worry about. But I think, again, it's going to be real run heavy. I think whoever plays quarterback on Sunday, whether it's Brock or Sam Darnold, they're probably going to pass 25 times would be my guess. So overall, I think they're going to be fine. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are definitely threats against this team. You saw what Kirk Cousins was able to do with a bunch of no-name guys against the 49ers. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are definitely not no-name guys. That's something that we're going to be looking for, see how Steve Wilks does. Are you concerned about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase?
Yeah, I am. I think the biggest concern for me is that Joe Burrow is getting the ball out quickly. And I put out a tweet yesterday that kind of highlights like teams are getting the ball out quickly against the 49ers defense. That has kind of contributed to, the pass rush not getting home. It's not the entire reason that they're underperforming, but it is, part of the equation there. And so Burrow's getting the ball out the 3rd quickest in the NFL through the first few weeks of the season. And so that's my concern, that it could be another day where the pass rush is not able to get home if he's able to get the ball out quick again. And so I think like that falls on the secondary, because the secondary has to make Joe Burrow think just a little bit more in the pocket, and that'll help your pass rush, right? So it needs to be complementary football. I think what we haven't been seeing from the defense is just simply like it's not been complimentary, right? Because like the pass rush isn't there, so everything has been falling on the secondary, which is not built to handle the load of like a team throwing on them a bunch of times. So yeah, I think the main thing is if they can force his time to throw, Burrow's time to throw a little bit more in this game, then I feel good about their chances. If they're not able to get pressure, if they're having to blitz, Burrow's gonna like destroy them.
Yeah, he's going to eat it up. Jamar Chase is ridiculous. I don't know. If you're really watching the NFL, but Jamar Chase is a different beast. Like, he is impossible to cover. The guy is ridiculously hard to cover, and he's going to be targeted. They're probably going to target him 15 times this game. So the 49ers defensive backs got their work cut out for him. And what was reported to me is if Wilks doesn't show improvement this week, we could see a change at the bye week. And it was hinted basically that the change would be someone from in the house would be the play caller moving forward. He has his work cut out for him when I'm Steve Wilks.
Yeah.
Because dude's going to be targeted like 15 times, one of the best receivers in the NFL. It's not really fair.
This isn't the matchup where you want to have your like job on line.
Right. Yes. It's concerning. Niners World says soft coverage against Chase. Yeah, honestly, what they need to do differently is they can't be so aggressive in the blitz. They just need to rush forward and drop everybody back. And they're
Yeah.
going to have to give up the underneath stuff to Jamar Chase and take away the deep threat because he is so damn good. You don't want to get burnt deep by Jamar Chase. Could be a long, long day if Sam Darnold has to bring us back, or even Brock Purdy, if I'm being real, has to bring us back from a deficit. That's not their strengths. We're good at playing from ahead. So 49ers defense got to start fast, hold Jamar Chase down, hold Burrows down, and the running game is going to have to take control and win the time and possession for the 49ers to win this game. Steph, I'm not sure if you want to do this or you want to save it for your show, but I usually give my predictions on Fridays.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it or you want to save it for your show?
You go first. I'll think of a number here.
All right, so my prediction, it's a homer take, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know if there's a reason for me to have this much confidence in the 49ers, but I'm going to say 24-17 49ers, regardless of quarterback. It's a home game. Now, the Bengals are coming off a bye week, so they are going to be prepared. They are going to be fresh. The Niners are not, but it's a home game. The Bengals are horrible against the run game, like we've been talking about. I think it's a get-back game for CMC and the offense. I think Wilks is going to be on his shiz because he knows what's at stake. And I think the 49ers pull it off 24-17. That's my hope, at least. I know not everyone is as confident and optimistic as I am, but that's my prediction. And before Steph gives hers, I want you guys to know, leave your predictions in the comments after the video is over, and I'm giving something away on Monday. Last week, nobody predicted we were going to lose. So nobody won it. But this week, if you guys win, I'm going to give something away. So make sure in the comments you leave, not in the chat, in the comments after the video. Go leave your prediction. If you win, I'll give something away. All right, Steph, what do you think?
Okay, so I'm going to give like kind of 2 score predictions for the 49ers just because like if Sam Darnold plays, it's going to be different. If it's Brock, I would say, 26-22. If it's Sam Darnold, I'm going to say 22-17.
Good. I like it.
Like, you know what? Like if Sam Darnold's out there, and even regardless, like I feel like the defense has to step up in this game. And I think they will. Like, this is the same defense that played, the first 5 games of the season when they were 5-0, right? And they looked good. There were still some things we're not used to seeing, right? Like the lack of sacks, giving up a lot of catches and whatnot. But they still did good. Like they were still up there. They're still up there even today in, defense, DVOA. Like I think they're in the top 5 still. So still a really good defense. I think they could go back to their aggressive ways. I think being home is going to help them, get that juice back as well. So yeah. But if they play poorly, honestly, like if there is this rift between like even players and Steve Wilks, I think it'll tell us a lot about how they feel about Wilks.
I mean, I'm really nervous about this game, honestly, because Kirk Cousins was the best quarterback 49ers have faced so far, and he went off with no-name receivers. Now they're facing Burrow, who is
respect Jordan Addison, pal.
Yeah, my bad. Jordan Addison. Okay. But Jamar Chase is a little better than Jordan Addison. Burrow is probably better than Kirk Cousins. I'm a little concerned about what's going to take place on Sunday, but I'm going to give my homer prediction, which is 24-17. Real quick, Blood Moon. What is that? It's hard for me to read for some reason. Maybe it's just me. Question, Ryan, wasn't Kasurk offered the DC position but didn't want it? Why, and why would he want it now? So he may not have a choice, right? Like it may just be like an interim thing. Like, hey, man, you're calling plays. We need you to call plays the rest of the season. It could be interim. I think he just likes what he does and doesn't want to take on that responsibility. But if the 49ers called on him and really just needed him to call plays in games, I think he would do it. Hopefully that's not the case. And hopefully Wilks has a great outing this coming week. All right, Steph, you mentioned you got a show coming on later on today. When is that taking place?
That is at 5:30 Pacific. I'm doing my deep dive into this matchup with Lloyd Fitzpatrick. Do it every Friday. So tune into that. We're going to be dropping a lot of stats and looking into the favorable and maybe not so favorable matchups for this game.
Cool. Yes. Make sure you guys, if you haven't yet, follow Steph on Twitter. Subscribe to her channel. She does great work. Always great having you on, Steph. Thank you so much. Thank everyone else so much for being here. I'll be back Monday to recap the game here on my channel with Twin and then with Grant at 11 a.m. You guys are the best. Thank you very much. I will talk to you soon.